Are you organising your money at the wrong moment? Most people wait until the month begins, or until they get paid, or until something feels slightly out of control. By then, the system is already running. At that point, organisation becomes reactive. It turns into checking, reviewing, and correcting. None of these are design activities. They're responses to a system that was allowed to form accidentally. This is why month-to-month money management feels heavy. It's treated as a recurring responsibility rather than a structural decision, made once and then left alone. Every month becomes a test of discipline, restraint, and attention. And attention is the resource these systems quietly consume until they fail. Most financial content begins at the same moment. Money arrives. Payday is framed as an opportunity, a reset, a chance to do it right this time. Structurally, that moment is already too late. Once money is visible and available, behaviour is already engaged. Preferences are active, temptation is present. Trade-offs feel personal. Organisation that depends on willpower at this stage is fragile by definition. If a system only works when temptation is resisted, it's not a system at all. It's a recurring negotiation. A subtle misunderstanding appears here. Organisation is confused with allocation. If money is divided carefully enough, labelled clearly enough, monitored closely enough, outcomes are expected to improve. But allocation still requires intervention. Structure removes the need for it. A well-organised month is not one where money is constantly reassigned. It's one where money has very little opportunity to misbehave at all. At a systems level, month-to-month finances are not complex. Money enters, money leaves. What remains either accumulates or leaks. Most effort is spent observing the middle phase of this process. Transactions are reviewed, categories are adjusted. Spending is analysed after it's already occurred. This produces awareness, great, but awareness is not leverage. Leverage comes from deciding where the money is allowed to go before any behavioural input is involved. Once defaults exist, repetition replaces attention, and repetition is far more reliable than discipline. This is where many systems quietly fail. Weak structure is compensated for with strong monitoring. More categories, more rules, more precision. Each layer introduces a new decision point. Decision points invite judgment, and judgment invites emotion. Emotion then increases interference. What looks like careful management is often just frequent contact, and frequent contact increases the probability of error. The problem is not a lack of care. It's that the system requires care to function. Any system that demands continuous attention is costly to maintain, both financially and motivationally. Though they don't usually completely collapse, they degrade over time through small exemptions, small rationalizations, small deviations that feel harmless in isolation. Discipline is not a stable input. It fluctuates with energy, mood, and stress. A system that only works when discipline is high will produce uneven outcomes. This is not inconsistency, it's a design problem. Systems do not improve outcomes by being clever. They improve outcomes by reducing choice. And choice is where variance enters. Variance is where behaviour overrides intention. And a month that requires fewer decisions is not less thoughtful. It's more robust. In a boring system, a normal month is unremarkable. Income arrives. Most of it is already spoken for. Housing, utilities, insurance, and other fixed costs leave automatically. They do not require approval each month. Long-term saving and investment happens next, not opportunistically, not emotionally, on a schedule that does not change when markets do. A separate portion is left untouched. It exists only to absorb the unexpected. It's not invested. It's not optimised. It's not part of the plan until something breaks. This is your savings. What remains after that is discretionary. That remainder is intentionally limited, not to enforce discipline, but to make everything else stable. In most boring systems, the proportions look broadly similar. Roughly half of income supports ongoing life costs. A meaningful portion is committed to long-term growth. A smaller portion is left for short-term choice, and a buffer exists to prevent small problems from cascading. Once this structure's in place, the month does not need to be managed. Spending inside the discretionary boundary is allowed completely unexamined. Saving does not require motivation. Investing does not require conviction. Nothing needs to be adjusted in real time. Review happens rarely, on a schedule, and without urgency. This is not a strategy for maximising returns. It's a structure designed to survive boredom, distraction, and bad weeks. That is the alternative to active management. Organisation is often treated as optimisation. Each month becomes something to improve. But months are too short for optimisation to matter. Most financial outcomes are determined by averages. Average behaviour, repeated quietly over long periods of time. Control is not measured by how often a system is touched, it's measured by whether it holds when untouched. Fragility is not solved by attention, it's solved by insulation from impulse, mood, and short-term trade-offs. Reducing activity is not neglect, it's the objective. A month that runs without review is confirmation that structure is doing its job. The end goal is predictability. Predictability allows you to spend attention elsewhere, on work, relationships, and your health. Nothing interesting happening is a feature, not a flaw. Money is a background system. When it demands foreground attention, something's already gone wrong. This is boring money, and boring is how wealth is built.